morning, good afternoon, good evening. I hope you're all doing well this fine Tuesday. So we're doing everything early today. I put a video out on Delphi, just a short video, it's like 8 minutes. Early this morning, early this morning. And I'm doing this live stream early because there's a big Karen Reid hearing later. So I want to get all the stuff that I've got to do today done before that. That starts 11 a.m. Eastern, so that's 4 p.m. my time. So it's a perfect time for me to have everything done that I need to do, and then I can watch it. It's going to be wild, I'm quite sure. There's a whole lot of nonsense going down in Massachusetts. But we're here to talk about Sebastian Rogers. And tomorrow will mark the 1 year of Sebastian being reported missing. So it'll be 1 year ago tonight into early hours of tomorrow morning that whatever happened to Sebastian happened. And none of us knows what happened to Sebastian Rogers. He's now 16 years old. He was 15 at the time of his disappearance. None of us knows what happened to him. Nick Baris from News Channel 5 Nashville did a live stream overnight my time. Here's Nick Baris, News Channel 5 Nashville reporter. Did a live stream. He used to do a lot of live streams about Sebastian in the early days of the case, but he's not done a live stream on Sebastian for ages. I haven't watched this all the way through. We're going to watch it together. I'm sure some of you will have already seen it. But for those of you that haven't, then watch it with me. I've watched about 10 minutes and then I decided to leave it so that I could watch it with you. And I'm going to comment throughout. Before we start, let's give people just a couple of minutes to get in here and say a couple of hellos. We got Down Under with Love. Good evening to you. We got Lucy. We got Lisa. We got CW. Oh, no, you don't want to do any housework. Oh, no. It's a very good excuse not to. Husky fur tumbleweeds. I've got Tilly fur tumbleweeds, so I feel your pain. We got Betsy, we got Blambril, we've got Kitty, we've got Ginger Snap, we've got Kelly, Pincho, we've got Jadzia, Mike. Who else? We got Sis. You should have been a detective. That's a great name. We got Jackie, Blissful, Be Real, Paper Chaser, and Snippins. We're all the way down the bottom of the chat. I imagine that this chat's not going to get terribly busy because for the vast majority of people, this is exceedingly early. What will it be? 7:30 a.m. on the East Coast of America. So, you know, it's going to be middle of the night for some people as well. But, oh, you come to share your flu bug. Melissa, no. Keep your flu bug away. Hopefully not transmittable. Hey, Wi-Fi. We got Mike, Aurora, A1 Way Street, and Fletch. Couldn't do any worse than Tennessee, LE. 4:30 on the Pacific coast of America. No, 4:30 a.m. You're either up early or you've been partying and it's now the next morning. I don't know which. All right. In the interests of getting us going, I'm going to start this. Follow Nick on Facebook, but I haven't seen it yet. Really like Nick. Look, Nick Baris is great. He has his sources. He talks to Eric Craddock, who is the sheriff of Sumner County. He talks to the district attorney. And he's got sources in TBI. However, he does go rogue at times. You know, I absolutely wish that he hadn't put out that flashlights video. That flashlights video has created so much drama and so much misinformation. The most of the time he's great, but he does occasionally go rogue. So we just got to remember that. But he's only as good as the sources. So if he was given that video as just a little corner, which was very misleading, then, you know, he's only as good as his sources. All right. So, Melissa, welcome to the Secret Agents Club. Thank you so much. Thank you for rejoining. All right. So I've got it sped up to 1.25. It's fine. Just gets us through a little bit quicker. It's not too insanely fast. 1.25 is fine. Sounds just like normal speed. Sounds slow to me because I watch everything on like either 1.75 or 2 times. But here we go. All right. So this is Nick Baris from News Channel 5 Nashville. This is a live stream that he did overnight my time. This is his Facebook. So it's Nick Baris. The link is in the description anyway, to his page on Facebook.
Coming to you Facebook Live. We're coming to you on a Monday night, and this is on the Sebastian Rogers case. We're doing this because this week is 1 year since the 15-year-old boy with autism disappeared from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. So it's been 1 year, and I know so many people have followed this case from, frankly, all around the country. I mean, it's gone everywhere. A lot of people have been involved. So many of us care and think about this boy and want answers and want to know what the very latest is. Sebastian disappeared this week, but specifically it was Sunday night to Monday morning, and that would have been February 25th or February 26th. That is, the 26th will be this Wednesday, but I'm doing this now because it was...
I mean, look, even that's created drama. Did he disappear on the 25th or did someone see him on the 26th? The Amber Alert says he's been missing since the 26th. Now, he was reported missing at 6:33 a.m. on the 26th. But his mother, Katie, went to bed about midnight. And as far as she's aware, he was still in his room at midnight when she went to bed. So he actually did disappear on the 26th. But no one actually had eyes on him, like since about 9 p.m. on the 25th when he went to bed. So Katie knew he was in his room because he was making some noise. And like she heard a thud. He did respond to her, so he was definitely in his room when whatever he was doing that created the thud. But she didn't actually have eyes on him after that. So, look, the FBI, I think, have changed their wording on their flyer. The FBI have now said that it was last seen on the 25th, but he was reported missing on the 26th. And I think whatever happened to him happened on the 26th between midnight and 6 a.m. Okay.
Was coming off a weekend from a Sunday night to Monday morning when he disappeared overnight, thought to have left barefoot and with a flashlight, and then was reported missing by his mother, who he was with that night at that home. And since then, not a trace. And so what I wanted to try to do here is just give you the latest of what I know about the case. There are a lot of rumors, a lot of scenarios out there on social media, which is fine because it keeps his name out there. But what I'm dealing with here is basically what I know to be factual, what I know, not my assumptions, not what I think, but more along the lines of what I've been told from those who are very close to the investigation. So who am I getting this information from that I'm going to be sharing with you the basics today? The information I'm getting from where I have had direct contact within just the past week, checking back in with them, is Eric Craddock, who is the sheriff of Sumner County, okay, who from the beginning has headed up this investigation there in Sumner County. He was not the sheriff at the time that this happened, but has since become the sheriff. He heads it up. So Eric Craddock, spoken with him directly. All right. Ken Widener, who's the director of Sumner County EMA. He's not so much as an investigator, but he's in charge of every time a tip comes in of going out and searching and tracking down to see if there's anything to it. They respond. They're the emergency crews that go out and respond to that. And then I've also talked and had close contact with the man who would be involved if this ever becomes criminal, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but that is the District Attorney Ray Whitley, who stays very close contact with investigators, including, I'll mention who else I've been in contact with, some sources within the TBI who are involved in this case. But Ray Whitley is the district attorney. He meets and talks weekly with investigators, standing by, wants to know what's going on, what the latest is with all that. That's where my information is coming from. Of course, I talked to some other people close to the case, people in the neighborhood, people like this who have been at candlelight vigils, the like. At one time or another, I've had contact with Sebastian's parents, but have not had any contact with them recently. They've certainly done a lot of interviews over the past year, not only on TV, but on social media. So
yeah, don't we know it? That's another Ferrari. Oh dear, that's another Ferrari. Man, I didn't think that Don Wells' shenanigans could have been topped, but Don Wells' shenanigans, in my opinion, have been topped by the shenanigans of the quote-unquote green team. But Nick Baris is sticking with the facts that he's been told from his sources in law enforcement. So let's be clear on that. This is not coming from a PI. A lot of people criticize me for sharing what SF investigates. The PI says, look, it's the best we've got. All right. But Nick Baris is coming from the facts he's been told by law enforcement. Okay. Barefoot doesn't make good sense. Yeah, look, you'd be surprised how many people, particularly kids and particularly autistic kids, go missing barefoot. It's weird, but it's actually true that people do go missing barefoot. However, I've always been of the belief that he did have shoes on, that he had a pair of shoes that his parents didn't know about. I've always been that convinced. Obviously, we don't know. Look, riddle me this, right? If his parents got rid of him, why would they say he'd gone out barefoot? Because no one actually knows how many pairs of shoes Sebastian had, except his parents. So why would Katie say he's gone out barefoot? Because it reduces her credibility. Because she could have just said, oh, I bought him a new pair of shoes like that weekend and they're missing. So he's gone out in them. And nobody would have been any the wiser. So it doesn't make sense for his parents, if they did something to him, to have said that he went out barefoot. Because people don't find it credible that somebody would have gone out barefoot. So surely they would have thought of that. But anyway, not here to talk about my speculations. We're here to listen to the facts from Nick Baris.
You've heard from them as well. So that's where I'm coming from. And I know there may be some people out there that say, well, Nick, we just don't believe in law enforcement. We're not going to put our stake in law enforcement. Where's the FBI? Well, the FBI is involved to a degree that they are behind a $50,000 reward for Sebastian. I'm just looking for the latest on that. They're asking for tips to be sent to them, but also specifically to 1-800-TBI-FIND. But look, there are people that say, well, we don't have faith in law enforcement to continue this investigation. They haven't broken it after a year. Look, if you followed missing children cases in the past, and I've covered sadly enough of them, these are not easy cases to solve. And I've followed many investigations in my career. And frankly,
missing persons cases generally are not easy to solve. Once you get past the first few days and you realize that that person isn't going to come home on their own, you know, they've not just like gone off in a strop and they're going to come back on their own. They're not in the immediate vicinity, either deceased or not, like hiding somewhere. After that first few days, the chances of them being found diminish with every single day that goes by. And certainly them being found alive diminishes as days go by. So after a year, you know, regardless of what sparked the disappearance, actually recovering them is incredibly difficult. Really. There's thousands of people worldwide who go missing for all sorts of reasons. The majority of them, it's not criminal. It's not. The majority of them, it isn't. Some of them, obviously, is. There's abductions, there's murders, people hide bodies. Absolutely. But if you look at the sheer numbers of people that go missing, And the majority of them are either runaways, who tend to be recovered quickly, honestly, or accidents, and then some are suicides. Not so much kids, but certainly adults. Some of them are suicides. Suicides tend not to be somebody who will make themselves intentionally disappear before taking their own life. Suicides tend to be found pretty much straight away. But there are those people who do that. I think it was Seth who noticed his shoes by the door. It was Pinchot, but I'm sure that Katie also has confirmed that his shoes were accounted for, or what she believes. What she believes that he had shoes in that house. I honestly think he had a pair of shoes that his parents didn't realise he had, like an old pair. Either they've forgotten that he had them, or they've thrown them away and he's got them back out the trash. Because, they're comfortable shoes. And he's got them back out. I honestly believe that.
Frankly, there have been some over the years that I felt they kind of dropped the ball on this. They haven't done everything they could do. As far as I can tell, and no one's telling me to do this, I have no stake in this except I want Sebastian found safe and sound. As far as I can tell, law enforcement from the very beginning, with the search and everything else, did this textbook and used every resource that they possibly could, and they continue to do so.
Well, look, I'm not deriding the work that law enforcement have done in terms of, the searches. However, what I will say is there was a massive ball drop in not getting that construction site shut down. I'm sorry. That's insane to me. It's insane to me. And the last live streams, only a couple of days ago, that I did on Sebastian, and we played a little bit of the dispatch audio. And the construction foreman wasn't even made aware that there was a missing child until just before 9 a.m. So the 911 call had been made at 6:33 a.m. Work had already started on the construction site by then. Like soon, first light, they're there on that construction site working. And the first responding officers got there within a very short space of time. There was people out on that construction site with dogs by 8 a.m. And it was only about 10 to 9 that they'd actually contacted the site foreman to make the crews aware that there was a missing child. So there was 3 hours, nearly 3 hours, where they were working on that construction site when Sebastian could have been there. That's a massive ball drop. Look, if law enforcement did try to get it shut down, it didn't come over the dispatch audio. All that came over the dispatch audio was, contacted the construction and he's going to make his crews aware. There was no mention of them asking for work to be stopped, even just for a few hours. Now, they were allowed, like law enforcement did search. They searched the houses, the half-completed houses. They drained the retention pond. So it's not like the construction workers tried to stop them. That's not what happened. But construction continued. So, they were dumping rubble. They were moving things around. They were driving trucks along. These things destroy evidence. They destroy scent, and it just makes it so much harder to do the work in those first crucial few hours. That's massive. That's huge. Potentially devastating for this investigation. So that's one thing. But otherwise, I can't say that they did a bad job. I can't. I don't know. That, the face of it, they did a lot of searching.
So there's people out there say, well, I want to go with these. I think Dog the Bounty Hunter and others are involved. Hey, good for them. I'm glad they're involved. They're not here. They haven't been on this.
They're not here. No. Where's Dog the Bounty Hunter? He's not searching, is he? No. Okay.
From the very beginning, they haven't seen all that's been done. I think the more people involved, the better. But I'm not here to slam anyone. And I'm certainly not here to say, well, I don't buy law enforcement. I'm just going to go along with some guy says on social media.
Did they actually search inside people's houses? They searched all the houses that weren't currently occupied. There's footage of them doing that. Now, they can't go into people's houses. Like, obviously, they can, if somebody volunteers, they can go in. What they were doing, without people's permission, in that morning, were going on people's properties and looking in unlocked sheds, unlocked barns, unlocked crawl spaces. They were doing that. That's all, like, on the dispatch audio of them doing that, like talking to each other via the dispatch audio. So they were doing that, but they can't actually go inside someone's house unless they've got permission. Now, obviously, they searched Sebastian's house numerous times. They searched people's properties with permission. But how many, interiors of people's houses they searched? Well, probably not many. But that's normal.
It's not the way to do it. And I think that's born out of frustration that we're all feeling right now, and we wish it could be solved. Let me tell you this. No one is more frustrated and disturbed by the situation with Sebastian, aside from his family, of course, than law enforcement. They desperately want this solved. And I can tell you right now, District Attorney Ray Whitley would love it if this case turned criminal and that there was a suspect brought before them. He would be ready to prosecute and go after them immediately. But that gets to this other point about some of the things that I wanted to hit on that is new. And then I'm going to look at your comments and try to answer what I can. Okay. But look, I've talked to them. This is not a criminal investigation.
This is not a criminal investigation. This is not a crime. What have I been telling you? What have I been telling you for months and months and months? And people have been saying to me, oh, but the FBI wouldn't give a reward if it wasn't a criminal investigation. Absolute nonsense. And America's finest ex-FBI idiot, Jennifer Coffin Crapper, comes along and says, the FBI don't offer rewards if it's not a criminal investigation. Go and find me one. Well, there's loads, Jennifer. There's loads. Go on the FBI's own website. Look at their rewards page for missing people. And yeah, some of them, it's clearly that, it's people who've been abducted. But some of them, no, they're just missing. They're missing with, no trace. And the FBI somehow have got involved for whatever reason, and they end up offering a reward. There's loads of them. Jennifer just needs to go on her ex-employer's own website to see all of those people. Not just children, adults as well. Dear me, don't think the construction site is important. The construction site is important because that's where Sebastian went, like it or not.
Okay, and a lot of you are going to say, well, the $50,000 reward from the FBI, and it's not a criminal investigation. Let me just explain what that means. And I've talked with not only the DA, but the police chief, or rather the sheriff, this past week. And asked them specifically, again, people are wondering, is this a criminal investigation now? And they say, no, Nick, what this is an investigation. We're looking into it and looking for any possibility. That does not mean we're ruling out a criminal investigation. But at this point, there is no evidence to indicate something criminal.
A year down the line, there's no evidence to indicate something criminal. Okay. All right. They've said that all along. They've said that all along. And they continue to say there is no evidence of a crime. Crapper, not cracker. Coffin Crapper. That's what she is.
So we are not calling it a criminal investigation. And you're like, well, how else could a 15-year-old just suddenly vanish? He had to be abducted. Potentially, sure. I hear what people are saying about that. 15-year-olds like this just don't vanish, do they? But there can be other explanations.
Yes, they do. Unfortunately, thousands of people around this world just vanish. Obviously, they've not been, spontaneously combusted. They've not been beamed up by aliens. They're there somewhere, But for everybody looking for them, for all intents and purposes, they have just vanished. They cannot be found. Okay.
And in the absence of any physical evidence, any eyewitnesses, any video that really shows him being grabbed or abducted or something bad happening, they're just calling it an investigation. It is not a criminal investigation. There are no suspects. From the very beginning, yes, the first...
The fact that a child is missing is a crime. No, it isn't, Kama Sutra. No, it isn't. No. You do not say someone is a victim of crime unless there is evidence that they've been a victim of crime. And that's regardless of the age. Children walk away and there is no crime. Okay, cool.
The suspect, whenever something like this comes down, are those closest to the person who's missing. And that would be the parents. Oh, you bet. I've said this time and again. They have vetted his mother, stepfather, and biological father. They have checked and double-checked their stories. They have interviewed them. The family has cooperated. They haven't lawyered up and clammed up and not cooperated with police from the very beginning. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, his mom, she was the one there. She had to be. Really? Give us the proof. Where is it?
Thank you. Give us the proof. Where is it? Oh, well, she looked to the right and she blinked at the wrong time and oh, this and oh, that. And the disgusting things that I've been hearing. The absolutely disgusting things that I've been hearing from people, I will not repeat, about Katie and Chris's looks, about how much weight Katie's put on, how much older Katie looks, deriding her appearance on photos that have been put out ahead of the new interview that's going to come out with Katie and Chris. Absolutely disgusting. You people who are making comments about a grieving mother's looks. Well, I sincerely hope that you do not experience trauma, because you're going to be absolutely devastated to find that trauma has an effect on your body. It has an effect on your person. Just saying. Just saying. Absolutely disgusting. You should be ashamed of yourselves. And you know who you are.
Okay. I mean, you know, you can go ahead and guess or whatever. There's no proof. To this point, there's no evidence whatsoever that anyone close to him had any involvement in what happened to him. So what else could have happened? He could have wandered off on his own. He could have.
And if it's true that Katie was wearing an Apple Watch while she was asleep, well, absolutely 100% proof from her Apple Watch app that, you know, Apple Watch communicates to the phone, all like your I don't know, your blood, your blood, what's the word? Respiration, not respiration, heart rate. That's the one. Your heart rate, all sorts of things, steps, it's all there. So if someone's wearing an Apple Watch while they're asleep, it's obvious by their heart rate and by the other things that Apple Watch monitors that they are asleep. Unless you are saying that she is so fit and so stealthy that her heart rate doesn't even rise while she's murdering her own son and then carrying his body away. And no, you cannot, you absolutely cannot pretend to an Apple Watch that you're wearing it when you're not. Just saying.
Fallen into some crevice that they haven't searched, which I find hard to believe. And he has not been found. He got hurt. He maybe somehow ended up somewhere where he was in a dumpster for some reason and got carted away, even though they have searched the landfill. I don't know. I'm as at loss as anyone else. So in the absence of all else, do you think there's a possibility he was grabbed or abducted? Absolutely. And law enforcement will acknowledge that is a distinct possibility. But they say at this point, there is no evidence of that. They don't see anything. Trust me, if there was some inconsistency or some evidence or something that pointed to any one of Sebastian's family members, they'd nail him and hope that they could break and crack him, and then Ray Whitley would prosecute. Now, I'm not saying that evidence might not surface as this continues, but as we speak here right now, there is no evidence of that. And if you're tuning in here hoping to hear some new revelation. The sad fact is, here we are a year later, okay? And
are we going to see videos? I haven't actually watched any Sebastian content at all since this came out. So I don't know what people have been saying about this interview, but I'm assuming that the Green team will all be gearing up to discredit Nick Baris. I'm sure they are. They're already there to, I don't know what they're going to say. But, who are the people that Nick Baris are getting this information from? Where's he getting this from? Oh, law enforcement. Okay. The district attorney. Oh, okay.
And still talking to all of those who are close to this case, they are no further along in terms of any new leads. In fact, I'm told now the tips and the calls that had been coming in on 1-800-TBI-FIND have really pretty much slowed to a trickle. There just hasn't been much. I mean, the story is still out there. Of course, with time it fades, but
heading towards a cold case then. Once there's no new leads, once every lead has been exhausted and new leads aren't coming in, that's the definition of a cold case.
It hasn't faded for law enforcement. I asked, is this now after a year considered a cold case, which means it's kind of on the back burner. It's not going to be solved. If something comes up, fine, but we're moving on. And they said, no, this remains an active case. We talk about it every week.
Sure they do. Yeah, they can talk about it every week, but as soon as, you know, the point comes when they say, look, we've not had no new leads, we've not had nothing for X number of weeks, then I'm sorry, it gets shelved and it's a cold case. Doesn't mean to say that, you know, they're not still going to follow up on leads that do come in. Doesn't mean anything really, but it just means that it's shelved until something new comes up.
We look at the possibility of any reports along the lines. All of that, okay, is something that they continue. So it is not a cold case and it remains active. There's reward money out there. Have there been more searches? Some people said, well, they were going to wait for the change of seasons and go out here. I know that there have been private searches conducted. I know family members have been involved in searches. I know Ken Widener has had crews out in response to certain things. I know there have been photographs sent from around the country. I had some photos sent to me today from someone who saw a person that looked like Sebastian in Salt Lake City. I think it was probably a few weeks ago that I was someplace, I'm trying to remember where it was, and I saw someone that resembled him. And you know, I just walked right up and stared at him, all right? I mean, I didn't just, oh, that might be him, I'm going to call it in. If I see someone that looks like Sebastian, I'm going up and checking. I've seen enough photos that I can tell up close if it's him or not. And I went up there. You may have thought I was a little weird. What are you looking at? But I went up there to look at him and just kind of glance. And I
can you imagine? Every kid who is about 5'5", like slim build, dirty blonde hair, wearing glasses, has probably been stared at and thought, what is that weirdo doing? Oh dear. Look, it's better to be safe than sorry. If I was in the United States and I saw someone who resembled Sebastian, I would be right up there. I'd be right up there to even speak to them. I'd probably like arrange a situation where I accidentally on purpose bumped into them so that I could exchange like eye to eye and have a conversation with them.
I realized, no, that's not him. But I checked it out. Almost all of these photos, a lot of people say, well, I thought I saw someone, or there was a report in Seattle or the airport in Salt Lake City and whatever. They do their best to track those down. You know, there've been some photos from around the region here during the past year that showed someone that looked like him. They vetted that out and found out it was not him. So it remains just a confounding mystery. I'm trying to think where else to go with all of this. It's just heartbreaking to me. You know, I try to think of other cases. Summer Wells, of course, comes to mind. That's the tragic case out of East Tennessee. And that little girl has never been found. A lot of people thought maybe her parents were involved, but law enforcement never found a link to that. And she remains missing. She was, I think, only 5 years old. Another one, Joe Clyde Daniels. He disappeared. And again, after the fact, his father, under questioning, confessed to killing the boy. And there was a trial, and he was convicted, and he's serving life in prison. But had the father never confessed, had he not broken that case would never likely be solved because Joe Clyde's remains still have never been found. People disappear. We can go back years. Janet March, remember that case from the 90s? Her husband, Perry March, is serving life in prison for killing her, but it took a while to get him, but her body has never been found. So a lot of people who say, well, law enforcement's not doing a good job, they're not doing enough. I mean, there is a lot of pressure on them. But finding this when they do everything, sometimes things are like this. The Holly Bobo case. Holly Bobo disappeared for a long time. You know, they had these suspects. Law enforcement looked everywhere. And finally, it was several years later that her remains were found by a ginseng hunter in the woods. That's what it took. They had searched every place else as best they could. So these types of things happen where they can't find anything. The one thing that gets me here is that there's just no sign. It's as though he vanished into thin air. The dogs were out there. People are going to ask, were dogs used? Yes, dogs were used very early on. Drones were used early on. They've checked the ponds. They've checked caves. They've gone a large distance around the area. You would have thought, you know, a scent that would have continued. But Ken Widener said a lot of people early on thought, well, the dogs hit on a scent and it died and ended at a pond, which, by the way, they searched. He goes, that really wasn't true. We didn't know about that. What other evidence was?
Well, Ken Widener, as I said in my video last night, that I put out last night, Ken Widener has been somewhat contradictory. And I don't think the statements that he's made in the early days of the investigation were out and out wrong, but I think they can be interpreted in more than one way. Like at one of the press conferences, he said that they'd had some tracks away from the house, so leading away from the house. They also, he said, though, that dogs didn't track, you know, in any way that led to Sebastian. Well, of course, that's true. People think that means there's absolutely no scent out there at all. That's not the case. The case is they can't say that a dog was on a definite scent of Sebastian if they don't locate him or locate something that's connected to him. They can't say that because they can't speak dog. So I don't think what he's been saying has been out and out untrue, but he's being uber cautious about what he says. But if you, and I know some of you don't like SF and don't believe anything SF says, but this video that he posted yesterday, hold on a minute. Oh, I can't show it. Hold on. I'll have to add it to, it's because it's a MOV file. Hold on. I haven't converted it, but I can add it as a video file. Just a second. Just take me a second to do this. This video. So you see them here. This is Kelling Lane. This is a Bloodhound. And that, let me, now I've got it on a video file here. I can't zoom it in. Hold on. Please hold. Please hold. What I'll do, it'll just take me a second to do this. I'm going to just pop this in my editing program. It won't take me more than a minute to do this. And I'm going to zoom it in. And then I'm going to export it so that we can get a clear view of what this dog is doing. Right. Right, just let me export this. It's only a 30-second video, so it's not going to take long. Where have you put it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Oh dear. 1 minute. One second. Okay, here we are. Here we are. I've got windows all over the place now. All right. I've zoomed it in. Can you see that? Get rid of that. And put this back on. All right, so that's a Bloodhound. And that is, cut the Bloodhound off. Duh. Hold on. Right, I'm going to do it again. Do it again so that I don't cut the Bloodhound off. Yes, replace. All right. Okay, this should be better. There's the dog. He's on it. He's on a roll. All right, watch him. So he sniffs there, and then he's off. Nose down. Still cut the Bloodhound off. But you get my drift. Right, I'm going to do it again. One more time. One more time. I don't want the Bloodhound cut off. Once he puts his nose down, I'm going to watch him. This is why I want to see the surveillance video. I want to see all the surveillance video with the dogs on it. So there he is. Sniffs. And he's off. He's off. He's really off. He's really off. All right, now watch it. With the full, it won't be quite as zoomed in. But watch his behaviour. Watch this. Once they get the nose down, that's it. They go. Take it from one who knows. All right, watch this. Not quite as zoomed in, but here they are. Dogs coming. Watch him. He's off. Look, they're running. They're running. He takes off. So this zoomed in version, what I was trying to catch here was where he comes from. So he's right there, and that's it. He gets a sniff of whatever, and then he's off. And then if we take it from this one, where we're not quite as zoomed in, So he's got whatever, and then he's off. Now, this dog is tracking Sebastian's scent. This is a scent-specific live scent tracking dog. This is the very dog. Saw my video yesterday. I showed you this. This is the dog. It's a Bloodhound. And this dog is tracking Sebastian's scent. And it's just weird that it's in the same location. How long does scent linger? Oh, I've done loads of videos on that. On an artificial surface like concrete, tarmac, not long. It depends on wind. It depends on whether that scent has been trodden over. So if it's on a road and there's a lot of vehicles passing by, that scent has gone. That scent has gone. But on a natural surface like grass, mud, even sand, as long as it's not windy, then that scent, especially grass and mud, that scent can bed in and it can last several days. In ideal circumstances where, there's no contamination and there's no strong winds, scent can linger for as long as, well, let's put it this way. The longest known successful track by a bloodhound was 13 days. So I don't know what case it was, but this is just, it's what search and rescue groups cite as, just as an example of how good dogs can be. This bloodhound successfully tracked 2 hikers who'd gone missing 13 days previous. However, they were deceased. Like, they didn't get there in time, but they found, like, the dog found their bodies. And that was a live scent tracker. But usually, usually circumstances are such that there's wind pollution, there's contamination by other animals, by people. And if that scent changes surface, then all of those things reduce the time the scent stays there. So on that road there, if Sebastian had gone out at, let's say, midnight after Katie went to bed, by the time these dogs get here at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, that scent on that road will have gone. So you're left with the scent that has either blown and pooled in certain areas. And this is why I'm interested in this bit here, because this dog is sniffing there. Now, I'm wondering whether there's a scent pool there. And it doesn't mean to say that Sebastian necessarily stood in that exact spot. It just means that that scent from Sebastian's body had let it, like, basically fallen to the ground there and pooled in a little pool there. And this dog has just got a sniff and then he's off. He's off in the direction of that scent. So, because we can't speak dog, we don't actually know what assessments they're making. But what we can say is, against trees, against fences, against rocks even, scent can pool, scent can kind of fall to the ground, and it can just, combine a little pool of slightly stronger scent, and that gets picked up by the dog, and then that dog then, he's off like this dog was. Like, he stops there, and then he's off. And they end up having to run after him. So It's not true. It's absolutely 100% not true that there was no scent of Sebastian out there. It's not true. It is not true. It's exactly the same area. All right, let me show you. It's exactly the same area. It's exactly the same. All right, let's look at this. All right, take a note of this car, this tree. Watch this. So this is the night time, which was 12:17. All right. It's the same camera, same tree. I've zoomed this in. This is more zoomed in than the original. Same tree there. Same car. They've not moved that car. Same path. There's that little, I don't know, jutty outy thing. I don't know whether it's a mailbox or something. So that's the night time at 12:17. Exactly the same camera. At 8:30 the following morning. Oh, you can't see that. So this is the night time. This is the night time. This is 12:17 a.m. And we've got this tree. We've got this car. We've got this path. This path. We've got this building. We've got this thing, which I don't know if it's a mailbox or, I don't know, a street sign or something. Okay, so that's 12:17 a.m. on the 26th of February. Do I know how far this dog went? No, but we know that one Bloodhound did track Sebastian's scent all the way up Kelling Lane to the construction site. We also know that a blue tick coonhound did the same track. All right, so watch this. Same tree, right? Truck, paths. All right, this is what that looked like at 8:30 from the same camera. Tree, this thing, whatever that is, this building, the vehicle hasn't moved. But obviously, you're looking at stationary objects. So tree, building, this thing, path. It's the same camera. Look at your comment above. When people ask me to do that, I struggle because I can't see. So Crimson Tide. I'll try. How far above? How far above am I looking? Okay, when I talked to LE, I got the impression that they said no scent trail because it didn't lead them to Sebastian. Kind of like how you were saying two things could be true. Yeah, because they can't say that they 100% got tracks based on the dog's behavior. Because if that dog did not lead them to Sebastian, then they're going to be extremely cautious in saying that one of their dogs did track him. They're going to be very cautious in saying that because we can't speak dog. But if you look at the dog's behavior, then absolutely that dog is on a track. That dog takes off. Just like Max took off. Max the German Shepherd just took off at a trot and then dove right into the retention pond. This dog is a bloodhound, is scent specific. This dog was given an item of Sebastian's clothing and and stopped at somewhere like here, and then took off, or maybe up here, and just took off. So you can say that this dog is scent specific, tracking Sebastian's scent, and he takes off at a trot, and the handler has to run after him. That we've now got video evidence of 2 different dogs taking off at a trot in the location where we know Sebastian likely went. And then we've got this dog on exactly the same camera, right? Exactly the same camera as this, taking off at a trot in the very spot where this weird figure like appeared. So I can't see anything there. I don't know whether the figure is behind the truck, but wait till they come out. They're in exactly the same spot. Just wait until they come out, and they get in front of this light source, and then the camera picks them up. But can we all agree that that is the same camera? The same angle, the same tree, the same thingy there, the same building, the same paths. And here is the person. Here is the person there. There. Right, I zoomed it in and I've cleaned it up a little bit so you can see him a little bit clearer. Watch, there, right there. It's exactly the spot where that dog ran. Right, this is zoomed in and uber slow. So the dog got, like, started off at a trot up here and legged it down here. So there's the person. This is super slow, just to make it clearer. But there, they're walking. It's exactly the same place. Can't you find that place on that? It's the top of Kelling Lane. It's one of the houses at the top of Kelling Lane. Maybe he went into that house. No, he didn't, because he walked past. He walked past this house. He disappears, like, behind this, like, there's this tree here. Like, in the daylight, you can see it. This tree, like a conifer type tree. So the person went along here and then just disappears from view. So the person's lingering around here and then disappears from view. What is just beyond that house? More houses. How far away is this from their house? Is it just up the road? Yes. So let me show you the thing that I've been showing people for months, and now people are finally, maybe realizing that I wasn't talking completely out of my arse. Thank you, One Eye Flo, for the $10. That's very kind of you. Lying in wait. Okay. I'm going to have to share this a different way because I want to show you Google Earth. All right. So this is Sebastian's house here. A bloodhound, a blue tick coonhound, both on the 26th of February. So we've seen the bloodhound. That's the bloodhound right there. That's definitely a bloodhound. This dog here is a bloodhound. This dog is a bloodhound. All right. Blue tick coonhounds are like, kind of like a cousin of a bloodhound. Like in making the blue tick coonhound, people crossed in bloodhounds with kind of, you know, local hunting dogs and stuff. So they're like a cousin of a bloodhound. So intensely good nose. Intensely good nose. I'd get a bloodhound if I could cope with the fact that they are so stubborn and don't listen. Because, quite frankly, I've had nearly 9 years of a dog that is totally stubborn and doesn't listen. Mentioning no names, Tilly. Okay. All right. So this is Sebastian's house. We know a bloodhound, a blue tick coonhound, and then a few days later, another dog from a different team also tracked from Sebastian's house. All right, along the back fence, and then through the neighbour's backyard, up onto Kelly. Now, I don't know whether they went through the neighbour's backyard and then cut through a house, or whether they went down to this road. I don't know that. But then up Kelly, right the ways up Kelly, onto the construction site. This is a construction site. So that dog is the bloodhound. I don't know exactly which house has the camera. I know that this house has a camera and this house has a camera based on the dispatch audio. But I'm assuming that there's more cameras on Kelling Lane up the top here. Like there's a house down there that has a camera. There's a house there that has a camera. That house has a camera. That house there has a camera. But at the top here, there's these two houses that both have cameras. Now, there's probably more though. That's your beagle as well. Yeah, I used to want a bit. I used to want to breed beagles when I was a kid. I used to want beagles, but I've never actually had a beagle. My neighbour has a beagle called Max that Tilly hates. Tilly absolutely hates Max, and Max hates her. Like it's a territory thing. They hate each other. Max turns into like a demon when he sees Tilly. And Tilly likewise is not friendly at all. She's not. All right. So there may be more cameras, but it's one of these cameras anyway. And this dog just comes up the road and he's on one. He's on one. He's on one. All right, let's go back to Nick Baris, though. Let's go back to Nick Baris. I honestly hope that people do start to listen to information that doesn't fit this narrative that has become really, really disgusting. Really disgusting. But anyway, let's carry on with this interview here.
There was some evidence that I had from early on. I got it about the same time law enforcement did, you may recall, of what appeared to be some lights outside the family home in the middle of that night. It looked like lights moving, but you really couldn't make anything out. I had the story. It's out there. Many of you have probably seen it. Not long after I ran that story, law enforcement eventually had it too and analyzed it and then came back and said there's nothing of evidentiary value in that video. To this day, I still don't know or have a good explanation for what those lights were, but they're telling me unless something new develops right now, they don't think that has anything to do with why Sebastian disappeared. I still have my questions about it, but I take them at their word. Last week, a video surfaced by a private investigator. A couple of local media outlets, I think, ran with it. I don't know if they ran with it before they talked to law enforcement, but law enforcement said they had that video since 72 hours after the boy disappeared. They had already vetted it. The district attorney told me straight up, Nick, there's nothing to this. It is of no evidentiary value. It is not a big break in the case like someone reporting.
It's of no evidentiary value. But who was that person? Who was that person? Because if you say it's of no evidentiary value that person is not relevant to the case, then they must know who that person is. They must have spoken to that person to be able to rule them out as either being Sebastian or being someone who's not Sebastian, but who is there just, I don't know, walking home, having been somewhere. They're just walking home or walking around, I don't know, going for a walk. So I really need law enforcement to come out and do a press conference and actually answer some questions, because we are getting second-hand information, third-hand information. We're getting told via Nick Baris or via the news that law enforcement are saying there's no evidentiary value to this and no evidentiary value to that. But law enforcement themselves need to clear some of these things up. They don't have to name the person. They don't have to name them, but they just need to say, yes, we spoke to that person, and you know, we know that they're not connected to the case. That's fine. But to say there's no relevance or evidentiary value when a bloodhound is clearly on a track in exactly the same location 8 hours later makes you wonder. Absolutely makes you wonder.
Yeah, and even if it was something significant that they thought, you can't make anything out from that video. You're not making out a face. You can't tell who it is. So there's been some videos out there that haven't guided us anywhere. That's the other thing. This neighborhood, very dark without a lot of lights. Not too many cameras captured anything. So the circumstances to this day, my heart goes out to the families, the mother, the stepfather, the biological father, all care deeply about this boy along with everyone else. And we so much want it solved. But here's the sad fact. The longer a child is missing, the less likely that child is found. Law enforcement right now, a year later, say, we cannot tell you whether or not Sebastian is alive or dead. It's heartbreaking. But where is he? Was he abducted? Was this child slavery or something like that? Why would they target a 15-year-old with autism?
Oh, God, he's gone in for the most extreme. Is this child slavery? It's gone into an extreme mode of theory there, which, look, it happens. Absolutely, it happens. Absolutely, it happens. But in this case, how did they get him away? How did they get him away is my question. It had to be incredibly well planned, because TBI have accounted for all of the vehicles coming and going from that neighborhood that night. They say that in black and white on their newsroom. I'll show you. Again, I've shown you this numerous times. But, you know, I just hope that the people who weren't willing to listen the first, the second, the third time I showed this are willing to listen this time. And just stop hounding the parents. Stop hounding the parents. Okay, all right. So the question is, what about the technology aspect? Have you collected security video from area homes and businesses of cell phones been checked? So we go down here and they say, with help from the FBI, vehicles that were placed in the area at or around the time of Sebastian's disappearance have been accounted for. These videos and all the electronic evidence that has already been reviewed is often being re-investigated. So vehicles that were placed in the area at or around the time of Sebastian's disappearance, which will be between approximately midnight and 6 a.m., I'm sure they did that whole night, have been accounted for. The only other explanation is that Sebastian never came home that night. We know Sebastian came home that night. We know he did. We know he did. We know I did. I know you don't like hearing this, but why do all roads and dogs lead to Bobby's house? Listen, I've never said that I don't like hearing things like that. Bobby's not off my list. Bobby's not off my list. However, I'm not saying she did anything. I'm not saying she did anything. He was never in the house. Yes, he was. Of course he was. He lived there. AVG, that's a silly thing to say. He lived there. Of course he was in that house. Of course he was. All right.
So many things just don't really add up. So every time I think I'm on a theory that might make sense, I think it through and say, no, that's not, and I just am at a loss. And I can tell you there are certain things about this case that law enforcement feels they cannot talk about publicly still. And they're not going to discuss some of their theories that they can't prove. But they have theories, trust me. And they try to...
Of course they have theories. That's how they work. Thank you, Susan, for the $4.99. Sebastian's 1 year anniversary. This is bullshit. We need answers now to bring him home. We absolutely do. But, you know, I want law enforcement to come and do a press conference, even if they've got nothing new, to address all of the things that have been speculated on. And I understand that there's things that they won't want to discuss. They won't want to discuss their theories because they don't have evidence for those theories. However, that's how law enforcement works. They develop a theory and then they say, right, what evidence do we have to support this theory? But equally, and as equally as importantly, they say, what evidence do we have that doesn't support that theory? That's what a lot of people miss. They go all in on a theory that they think they can prove, and the reason why it beds in and becomes this massive groupthink operation is because people don't check themselves and think, okay, but what evidence is there out there that refutes that theory? They don't use the scientific method of investigation. Law enforcement does. But they're not going to come out with a theory that they can't show evidence for. They'll keep that private.
To find evidence matching the theories. There's nothing. There's nothing. And that's the frustrating thing.
It's not exactly nothing to have a dog that does this. A dog that does this. This is not nothing. This is a scent-specific live scent tracking dog, gets on a scent, nose down, and legs it down the road. And they're running after him. They're jogging after him. Look at him. Look at him. I'd love to know where that track ended. I'd love to know. I'd love to know where that track ended. But as it is, we just got that one camera. That's not nothing. And Max the German Shepherd did exactly the same thing. Let me find Max's video. Max did exactly the same. Hold on. Max's video. What did I call it? Here it is. All right. So this is already zoomed in. Just let me add this in here. All right, this is already zoomed in. So this is 7:50. Max arrives. This is the construction site. This is a camera on a house at the back of Kelling. So that will be, I'll just do Google Maps so I don't have to reshare. So this one doesn't have my stuff on it. But it's a house at the back of Kelling here. So it's looking over the construction site. So it's looking through these trees. They're like the boundary between these houses and the construction site. Max arrives and starts his track kind of, must be like here at the beginning of this construction site. So comes down here and then takes off. He takes off. Okay, so watch this. He just takes off. So you see him in this corner here. I've zoomed it in. All right, so this is a yard at the back of Kelling. This is the construction site. These are the trees at the boundary. So this is about 7:50. Here's Max. So he's wandering about. He's wandering about, not doing anything specific. He's got his nose in the air. So he's air scenting, I think. And then he just takes off. Unfortunately, because we lose him a little bit in these trees, but you can see his handler there. And just watch him, the speed he comes through. I haven't sped this up. at all. This is the speed that the video arrived in my possession at. You see his handler coming up here. Look, he's off at a trot up this hill. And that is the point where you can't see. Dear God. Dear God. I'm so bad at this. All right. Watch it again. So he's here. Max is here. This is Max. About 7:50. All right. So he's air scenting. He's got his nose in the air. He catches whiff of something. And then we lose him a little bit in the trees. There's his handler. So at the moment, the handler's still at a walking pace. It's a shame we don't see Max until he gets here. But watch him. He's off at a trot. Look, there he is. There he is. He's off at a trot. And it's that point, his handler's jogging. It's at that point where he goes to the retention pond and dives straight into the water. Oh yeah, this is Bobby's backyard. The house right next to Bobby's backyard. It is. All right, so Max has come along here. He's gone up here. Then we obviously lose him, but we know from the dispatch audio what Max did. Max dove right into this retention pond. So we've got Max at 7:50 picking up a scent along here, running this way at a jog and diving into the retention pond. Then at 8:30 we have a different dog, a bloodhound, who is scent specific. So by this time this dog has been given a scent article from Sebastian, comes running up at a trot up Kelly Lane. We don't know exactly where he goes after he goes off camera, but that's two different dogs in the same direction. Max starting here and going to the construction site, across the construction site to the pond, and then a bloodhound tracking up Kelly Lane. What more do I need? What more do you need to say that's evidence? That's real evidence. I'm sorry, that is real evidence. It doesn't lead to Sebastian. It's not useful in that it's not led us to Sebastian, but you can't say that that's not evidence. I'm sorry, you can't. Thank you, Susan, for the $1.99. That's very kind of you. Who is Bobby? Oh, she's a neighbour. She's been really gobby. Really ridiculous. She went on JLR and then she went on there was a phone call that was recorded with Stephen Crabtree and who was the other person? I can't remember who the other person was, but Bobby gave this ridiculous theory that neighbours had seen Katie carrying Sebastian. The phone call was with you, Crimson Tide. Okay. Well, there you go. There you go. Was she on Terry Lynn as well? All right. Okay. So ridiculous. Absolute nonsense. I'm sorry. It was nonsense. Ridiculous.
Saying, I mean, this is a year later, and I think on this grim milestone, it's worth doing this Facebook Live to try to, and I'll see your comments here in a moment. I'll scroll through and try to answer, but there's not much more than when I did a update 2 months ago, or when I did an update 6 months ago. There's just nothing new to report, and it's not that they aren't working it; it's an active case, and so that's what I have for you. And I wish I had more to share with you. I know so many people are following this story and have strong emotions and feelings about it. And I'm with you. And if some of you are angry or you don't understand or you don't agree with me, that's okay, because what we're talking about, and I think regardless if there's disagreements, we all are coming from the same place. And that is hoping and praying that somehow Sebastian is found alive somehow and can be returned to his family. That's my goal. I have no, for people who say, well, Nick, you're just going along with law enforcement. Oh, Nick, you don't follow. I have no dog in this fight. No one tells me what to report, okay? I go ask the questions. I get that.
I've no dog in the fight either. People think that I'm paid by the Proudfoots. I'm not. If I found or someone gave credible evidence that the Proudfoots did something, I would be all over them. I'd be all over them. I have no dog in the fight. But over the last year, I've seen nothing that implicates any of the parents. Nothing. Zero. And the little evidence we do have actually indicates that Sebastian left that house for whatever reason. We don't know why he left that house. But for whatever reason he left that house, he left of his own volition. What happened to him after that, though, we have no idea. All we have is an approximate direction that he went in. That's it.
That from different sources, and I reported what I believe to be credible. The only thing I care about, I'm not looking for clicks on my Facebook page. I'm not looking. I get paid by the station to do my news stories every day. My sole goal is to try to keep the story out there to some degree, try to answer your questions, and hopefully help in some way solve this case with Sebastian. That's it. I have no other dog in this fight. So I'm going to go with what I believe is factual and most credible. And I've tuned out a lot of the noise that's on social media because some of it, frankly, started getting pretty darn ugly. People attacking each other and saying, oh, that doesn't help. And I've talked to law enforcement who said throughout all of this, the social media has done absolutely nothing to help this case. In fact, has muddied the waters. Because
absolutely, it's been incredibly detrimental and incredibly damaging to the parents, to people who know Sebastian in real life. We all feel that we've got some kind of vested interest in this case. No, we don't. No, we don't. The vast majority of people who are following this case are following it because of the drama. They think it's a soap opera. Look at that. Look at how I've stopped that. That's not a good look, is it? But no, they are. They're tuning in for the next episode of drama, which is why I get like very few views on my videos. No, this is not the point. This is not the point. But because I don't deal in the drama, people are not interested. They're not interested in hearing the facts. They're not interested in hearing the few bits of evidence that we actually have in this case, and then developing a theory from those little bits of evidence. The little bits of evidence we do have lead us away from the parents. We know where Seth was. We know where Chris was. We know that Katie was likely asleep. We know all these things. But yet we absolutely cannot have this really ugly, horrible, horrendous behavior. And as I said the other day in my live stream on Sebastian, I'm dreading this week because when that new interview with Katie and Chris comes out, that's going to be a whole more bunch of absolute BS all over again.
It's just so out there. But again, in the vacuum of no information on what happened to him, I can understand in this day and age with social media how things explode. And I'm on social media here myself right now. But I'm going to stick to the facts as best I can and try to answer the questions that you may have. And I'll do the best I can. You may not like my answers, or you may not agree with what I say, and that's fine. I think that's the case. You're feeling as sad and frustrated.
Again, still waiting for the green team to start attacking Nick Baris, his character, his job. They're probably ringing in the station. You can imagine it.
About this as I am. I'm just trying to be as fair and as impartial as possible. So I'm going to scroll back down through this and look at many of your questions and comments and see what we got here. Why is it all of a sudden not a criminal investigation? It's not all of a sudden not a criminal investigation. I guess maybe Elizabeth had heard that people maybe had said, well, yeah, it's criminal, or they heard investigation, they took it as criminal. It has never been a criminal investigation. It's not been ruled out. They're not saying there's no criminal activity here. What they're saying is right now it's just a general investigation. Maybe he wandered off on his own. Maybe he was abducted. We don't know. If we decide that we have evidence that he was abducted, it'll become a criminal investigation. That's what it is. It hasn't changed.
There you go. Absolutely. As I've been saying. Of course, they have to investigate because he's missing, but it doesn't mean to say that they're investigating a crime. If they find evidence of a crime during their investigation, then it will ramp up into a full-blown criminal investigation with a suspect. The district attorney will be involved. They'll gather evidence against one person or persons. At the moment, That's not the case. There is no criminal evidence. There's no evidence of a crime at all, which is interesting after a year, given that the Secret Service have analysed all the tech. So I don't think that somebody has lured Sebastian out via some online means. After a year, I think they would have found something. You know, they'd have found a trace of something. Then again, these online predators are incredibly good at covering their tracks, so it's not out the realms of possibility. However, you know, it is a year, and the Secret Service are pretty good at what they do. Sasha, member for 35 months. Thank you so much. Don't ever change. Oh, I will not. I will never change. I will never change. It's as if the green team are trying to frame Chris and Katie. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what they're doing.
Changed, but it is not criminal. And what I mean by that is there is no evidence that something criminal happened here. You may suspect that, but unless there's blood, instance, an eyewitness, then there's no evidence. You can have the theory, but it doesn't make it real. You have to prove it. So it's not all of a sudden. It never has been a criminal investigation, ever. Let's see. Why don't you tell them directly what the Sumner County Sheriff? I did. I don't know what I've left out. What else did the sheriff tell me? That's basically when I talked with him, what he told me. It's not a criminal investigation. We don't have suspects. It is not a cold case. We are continuing to work it as an active investigation. And the number of tips have dwindled significantly. I mean, that's basically what I'm not keeping anything from you. Now, he may be keeping something from me in the investigation. I'm sure there's certain things the TBI doesn't want to share, perhaps, but I'm telling you what they tell me. That's all. I'm not keeping anything from you. Let's see what else. So why did it change? A lot of people think it changed, and maybe at one point somewhere in reporting it as being criminal. I think at one point I raised that question quite often, saying, "Is this criminal? Is this criminal?" And at some point there were some that seemed to indicate that it could become that. But all I'm saying is, if that's the case, what they're making very clear.
I'll tell you who is saying that it's a criminal investigation. All the people from the Green Team. They've completely misled people. Totally 100% misled people. For whatever reason, who knows? For, I don't know, clicks, views, money. I don't know why. I don't know why people do this. Just because they're nasty. I don't know. I don't know why they do it. But it's the Green Team and all of the people that hang on, including Jennifer Coffin Crapper. She's out there saying FBI this, FBI that. When I worked at the Bureau, we did this, we did that. It gives us some kind of credibility. She's saying it's a criminal investigation. People believe her. That's where it's all come from.
Clear now is that it is not criminal because there's no evidence that something criminal took place. There can be other reasons why Sebastian's missing besides a criminal act. But if they find evidence of it, they'll immediately call it that. And I said the district attorney's ready to prosecute the moment they go that way. So who's lying? I mean, why does someone have to say, oh, someone's lying? No one's lying. No one is lying. You think there's some mass cover-up because they don't want Sebastian found? Get a clue.
Exactly. Get a clue. Get a clue. Thank you, Nick.
Right. Let's see. What else do we have here? I have a pic of an email. And he's saying, in fact, it is, look, whatever. Believe what you want to believe, okay? If you want to believe it's a criminal investigation, it changes nothing, okay? There's no suspects. There's no evidence. So believe it. If you believe it's a criminal investigation, then that feeds the narrative that, yes, clearly someone had to take Sebastian because he wouldn't disappear on his own, which, frankly, I'm inclined to agree with you. It's unlikely that he just disappeared on his own. Someone else had a hand in this. But there's no evidence of it. Without evidence, you can't call it criminal, okay?
Or maybe people can't understand that if you go for a walk, every now and again, something bad happens.
I mean, that's just it. So all it is, and maybe at one point an investigator said, yeah, we're looking at it as a criminal, but I'm just telling you, I talked to the district attorney, I talked to the sheriff, I talked to Ken Widener, and I talked to my sources at the TBI, and they said, hey, at this point, it is an investigation. It is not a criminal investigation because we don't have evidence of a crime other than a boy missing. And a boy can go missing for a number of reasons that aren't criminal. I mean, that's just it. I mean, I don't think that's that hard to understand. So call it what you want. You want to believe it's criminal? I don't care. Fine. Let's wait and see if they charge someone or make an arrest. I mean, whatever. Believe.
Are any of the neighbours willing to take a polygraph? I don't know. Don't know whether any of the neighbours have been asked to take a polygraph. No idea. Is Scooby-Doo still searching for Sebastian? No. Unless that Bloodhound is named Scooby.
What you want to believe? I don't know. You know, they're saying Brandon Carter says it's a criminal. That's fine. Believe Brandon. Ask Brandon where the evidence is that proves it's criminal. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it. You know, so, you know, if there's times.
The mud at the bottom of that pond, yeah, it was really thick. It was really thick. What we do know is once that pond was drained, law enforcement walked it, and also narc divers walked it. And when narc divers walked it, he was filmed doing it, and he did pull some stuff out. He did it really slowly and really, really methodically, and he did pull some stuff out, like, you know, things that have fallen in that pond. So I think if there was a body, I think potentially it potentially would have been found. But it was really thick. It really was. It really was.
Where back in early on, there may have been some that said, yeah, right now we're looking at this becoming a criminal investigation. I may have reported that because I was told we're looking at it maybe becoming a criminal investigation. We think it's going to become a criminal investigation. And there may have been some who did say it was. I'm not saying you're wrong for hearing that, but all I can say is where we stand now. Perhaps there were leads they thought were going to lead to criminal investigation. They have not come through. And so that's what I'm being told. Right now, it is an investigation. It could turn criminal. But right now, I don't know what the big deal is. As long as they're investigating it, wherever it goes, but I think everyone's like, what's criminal? That means there's someone out there. Well, believe that. Do I believe someone had a hand in him? This is my belief. In him disappearing as opposed to him just vanishing on his own? I think the odds are probably, yeah. But I need proof of that. And without proof of it, it's a theory and not proof that it's criminal. Yeah, a lot of people say that the law enforcement screwed up the investigation.
Didn't EquiSearch drain it? No, not that pond, no. They searched a bunch of ponds, like 40 or 50 ponds, but it was law enforcement that drained that pond. So the pond that we're talking about here is the retention pond at the construction site. This one down here. So there's loads of little ponds though, and EquiSearch cleared a bunch of different ponds. So that's what they did while they were there. But this pond is the one that Max dove into. This pond was drained by law enforcement. It was then walked. So someone walked backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, like feeling for anything. And then at the beginning of March, narc divers also walked this pond. So that pond has been looked at. I still worry about the drains, those drains that were open. Like this image here is from December 2024. This is the latest on Google Maps. But in February 2024, this road wasn't in all the ways, and the drains had been put in, and there was open manholes. And somebody could have fallen down them. I'm absolutely convinced someone could have fallen down them. And they did say they checked. They did say they checked all the storm drains. But look, Caleb Harris was missed somehow, somewhere. So I still worry about that. And then if he'd gone off into the woods, there's so many holes, sinkholes, little caverns, little crevices. There's so many of them in that area. So apparently they did check the storm drains. According to Ken Widener, they checked the storm drains, but Caleb Harris got missed. That's all I'm saying. It does worry me that there was all these open manholes on that construction site. And then in these woods, it's riddled with crevices, little caverns, little holes, you know, naturally occurring. There's just so many of them. It's just really, really problematic that it's very easy for somebody to fall, especially while it's dark, for somebody to fall down one of those holes and not be found. Simple as that.
Since day one, really? How? Were you there? I was there. I was out there. How'd they screw it up? Tell me how law enforcement screwed this up from day one. Please, someone.
Not shutting the construction site down. That was a screw up.
explain. Everyone's saying, so they lied to us. I guess, why would they?
Oh, thank you, Sasha, for sending a little PayPal. Thank you so much. It's very kind of you.
They lie. I mean, you know, what about the flashlights? I told you, they told me that the flashlights don't seem to have any evidentiary value at this point. And that's what I reported. I have to go with what they tell me, unless something else comes. Finally, someone quoted the correct reward amount. It is $50,000. I heard that there was some other reward money out there beyond that, but I've learned to be very, very cautious with reward money. A lot of people throw out, oh, I'm going to pay this reward. The reward will get this big. And when the case is solved, sometimes the money that's really actually paid out to the person who helped solve the case, if there was one, oftentimes isn't as much as what they said originally, or it's hard to collect. Now, the FBI is offering 50 grand. The FBI is offering it. You solve the case, you're going to get that money. And so it is $50,000 from the FBI. But I know some of the other monies out there, I can't vouch for it, but I've heard it's at minimum 50,000. Let's see. Yeah, this one woman says, I have a friend from high school that has been missing for almost 28 years. It's like she vanished into thin air. Well,
I tell you, when my stepbrother disappeared, told you this story many times now. My stepbrother disappeared and he was found 2 weeks later, 400 miles away. He literally vanished. One day we got up, he wasn't there. So he was, I think maybe 19 or 20. So I would have been 14, 15. And he was suffering from schizophrenia. And at that time, it wasn't very well controlled. He did have medication, but it just wasn't helping. We got up one morning, he wasn't there. And nothing of his appeared to be missing. He just wasn't there. So given that he was a vulnerable person, I don't know how long my dad waited, but later that day, anyway, he called the police. And as he was a vulnerable person, they took it seriously. Like if it was just like a young 19, 20-year-old who wasn't there when we got up, they wouldn't have, this was back in the 1980s. Yeah, 1980s. They wouldn't have taken it seriously. They really wouldn't, except, it was made clear that he was schizophrenic, didn't take his medication, didn't have anything with him. So they checked his bank. Now, it was the days before mobile phones or anything like that. They were able to check his bank, and he had made a cash withdrawal in the local area that day. But then there was nothing. There was nothing else. And he didn't have very much in his bank. He didn't have very much in his bank. And then I searched. I thought, oh, he's taken money out. He's got a load of booze. He's got drunk. He's had an accident and he's dead somewhere. That was my working theory. Because he used to drink like way too much. And the medication he was on, he wasn't supposed to drink at all. So there was this interaction that happened with his medication and alcohol, but he wouldn't listen. He would not listen. He was continuing to drink like a fish. So I thought, he's taken the money out. He's got a lot of booze. He's gone in the woods, like where my dad's not going to shout at him. He's hunkered down and he's either passed out and died, or he's had an accident, or someone's clobbered him over the head. He's in the woods. That was my working theory. I spent 2 weeks with my dog, who I trained to track my sister. So I thought, right, I'm going to give her, it was a female dog. I'm going to give her one of Ian's socks, right? And she knew who she was looking for. There was not a sign. I walked for miles, ditches, rivers. I walked the length of the Yarra River all the way from where I live, all the way. Oh, dear God, I walked miles through tunnels. There was no sight, no sound of him at all. And then in the middle of the night, It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. 2 weeks later, I was still up because I never slept. There was a phone rang. So I answered the phone. Hello, this is Officer blah, blah, blah from Inverness Police. Inverness is right at the top of Scotland. Right at the top of Scotland. And 400 miles away. We have someone called Ian, and I'm not going to say surname here. Do you know him? I was like, yeah, he's missing. He's my stepbrother. He's missing. And she said, are your parents there? Because obviously she must have recognised that I got a very young sounding voice. Your parents there? I said, they're asleep. She said, well, you're going to have to wake them up then. And I did. Dad got on the phone, burst into tears. It was incredibly emotional. They described that they found him wandering the streets of Inverness, thinking that he was drunk, but he wasn't. He'd run out of money. So the money that he'd taken out the bank, he's obviously used it as a train ticket and gone right to the top of Scotland. Why? We don't know. We think that he'd had a conversation with my auntie's dad at Christmas, so months previous. And my auntie's dad used to work up in the top of Scotland on an oil rig. So our working theory is that he thought he was going to go to the top of Scotland and then work on an oil rig. For whatever reason, I don't know why, that's the only connection that we could think of as to why he might have headed up there. So my mother is there making like sandwiches and piling stuff in bags like food, and they set off. They literally set off, drove 400 miles, and then picked him up and drove 400 miles back. And he was in a bad way because he'd had no medication for 2 weeks. He'd been wandering, just like wandering around for 2 weeks with no money, like probably like scavenging out of bins and whatever. So the police had picked him up in Inverness thinking he was drunk. These officers did some great work that night because they quickly recognised that he wasn't drunk, he wasn't a criminal, that he was mentally ill. They didn't put him in a cell. They looked after him. They fed him. And they waited. They waited with him until my parents drove 400 miles to go and get him. So there's no way that we would ever known where he'd gone. Let's say, for example, he'd gone to Inverness and then fallen in a river. We'd have had no idea, no clue. He may never have been found. He may never, because there's only a finite amount of time that he could have lived scavenging out of bins without, schizophrenic, without either falling foul of some wacko or dying of exposure. So anyway, that's my story. I think that's probably the reason why I get so heavily invested in missing people, because I recognize what it's like. And to have people absolutely rip into you because there's no sign of your loved one, like, we were the last people to see him. So, it wasn't a high profile case. No one knew about it. But when people say to me, well, Katie was the last person to see him. Well, I'm sorry. I was the last person to see Ian. I was the last person to see Ian. Did I murder him? Because that night, I remember it, my parents went to bed. Ian was still up. I was still up. And then Ian went to bed. I stayed up. I was the last person to see Ian till the following morning. We all got up and he wasn't there. So obviously, he's waited for me to go to sleep and then snuck out the house. So I murdered my stepbrother, according to all of these people who are blaming Katie Proudfoot. I know what that did to my dad. I saw what that did to my dad for 2 weeks. So do not come to me saying that Katie must have done something because she was the last person to see him. Because I'm telling you, people just vanish. People just vanish. They're somewhere, but you may never find out where they've gone. Anyhow, back to this.
A lot of people wondering, a lot of people saying, Nick, you told us it was. If I told you early on that it was a, if I told you early on it was a criminal investigation, it may have been in connection with the fact that early on, the Amber Alert remains in effect for Sebastian. It doesn't necessarily mean that a child was abducted or is someone who's a victim of a crime, but it does mean that child is determined to be in imminent danger. A lot of things can go toward that. I think most of them apply to someone being taken. But all I'm saying, whatever was said before, okay, based on what some may have told us or what some of the implications were, I am telling you now that it is not criminal, that it could turn. Hear me still out there. There we go. Why we have a slow connection. Yeah, so I'm just trying to establish that, but I don't want to spend too much. Let's just assume, if you want, those of you who believe it's a criminal investigation and that we were told it was, and that's what they said, fine. Let's just assume it is. Okay, if it's a criminal investigation, it's been criminal for all this time. They must have a suspect in mind. Why is none of it? Why has no one been arrested? Where's the evidence that makes it criminal? That's all I'm saying. If you want to believe it's criminal, fine. Believe that. Doesn't change a thing. He's still missing, and they haven't made an arrest. So let's just go ahead and say it was criminal. I'm telling you right now, law enforcement say it is not. They may have thought it was going that direction, but they're saying nothing's developed on that front. So if I said it because someone told me that after the Amber Alert early on, I can't remember. I've done so many stories. I'm just telling you what they've told me now. But believe what you want to believe. Believe it's criminal. That's fine. It changes nothing. Whether it's criminal or not, it doesn't tell you who the suspects are. It doesn't tell you any of that.
Nick, move on. I think he's got trolls in his chat. He just needs to move on.
I wonder how dogs couldn't pick up his scent when the mom said he left barefoot. That's a great question. That's one of those quandaries.
They did. They did. All right. We've established that. We've talked about that. Move on.
I'll get it. You're right. You know, and that other part about, the boy leaving barefoot, why would he have gone out barefoot with a flashlight? I remember his father, Seth, telling me that when he was a young boy, he had wandered outside barefoot once and made his way over to a fire anthill and really got lit up. And he never forgot that. And so Seth said ever since then, he always wore shoes or something on his feet when he went outside. But this night, he went out in his pajamas barefoot with a flashlight. Is what the...
He didn't have pajamas. He had a top and jogging bottoms. So he wasn't in pajamas. Let's be clear. Those might have been things he slept in, but he wasn't wearing pajamas. And it was a warm night. It was in the late 50s. It was a warm night. So a long sleeve top with jogging bottoms, he would have not felt the cold. I believe he had a pair of shoes. As I keep saying, could he have gone out barefoot? Yeah. But I think he had a pair of shoes because we know now that his parents did not know at the time that neighbours had seen him wandering about in the neighbourhood. So I think he had a pair of shoes that he used to use when he used to go wandering. And he thought he was being clever. Listen, this young man can play chess and beat grown men. This young man can play Dungeons and Dragons. So this young man is not lacking any intelligence, regardless of whether he's got autistic or whether he's got his 6q27 chromosomal deletion syndrome. Those things have not hampered his intelligence. He's a very intelligent young man. He can strategize. He can think forward. If he can play chess, he can think forward, right? And if he wanted to go out and go out regularly without his parents knowing, the chances are he's done it before. I think he had a pair of shoes that he used to use to go out so his mother didn't know that he'd gone out. That's what I think.
Report was, I guess, from the mother. So what would lead you to do that? I'm thinking, okay, if he leaves his house in the middle of the night, I'm guessing he heard something and wanted to go check on it. Was someone outside his window? Did he hear something? Did he grab the flashlight and go out quickly thinking, I'm just going to check on it and I'll come back in?
And that's also possible, that he heard something or he saw a cat. He was looking at his bedroom window and he saw a cat and he followed the cat. That's also very possible.
Otherwise, he would have taken time to put his shoes on. That's a great question, because he wouldn't typically go outside without shoes, but he went out really quickly. See what else we got. So many people are upset that whether I told them it was a criminal investigation at some point or misinterpreted.
People are trolling him. Nick, move on. Just ignore the comments of, yeah, but Nick, you said it was criminal. Just move on. They're trolling you.
Interpreted what I meant, or maybe I did at one point early on. All I'm telling you is, as we stand here now, and since I've last checked in with all law enforcement, they say it is not a criminal investigation. It's simply an investigation right now. So it's changed then, perhaps. No proof that...
It's not changed. It's not changed. It's not changed at all. It's never been a criminal investigation. It's people on the internet who said it is, and a whole bunch of other people who've believed them. It's never been a criminal investigation. Never. Never.
Any parent did something to him. That's right. A lot of, yeah, that's just it. I think everyone gets upset because they hear criminal, which means, okay, that means maybe.
Had he done something like that before, though? Yes, Miss Wales. It's on the dispatch audio that a neighbour down the street told cops that morning that they'd found him on one occasion hiding under a car in their driveway. And since then, we've heard a little bit more about that. And it was actually, the car was belonging to the son's girlfriend. So the guy whose house it was informed that there was a young man hiding under this vehicle. So when he went out, Sebastian ran, and he ran home. And the guy, so the dad, went over and knocked on the door, probably to say, what the hell are you doing hiding under my son's girlfriend's car? You're a weirdo. Or, you know, he probably wasn't that happy. However, Sebastian didn't answer the door. And because Sebastian didn't answer the door, this guy just left it and didn't go back. If he'd gone back, then at least Katie would have been informed. She was never informed that he was doing that. It was like one evening after school, so it would have been before Katie got home from work. And then there's another thing on the dispatch audio, and it's from a guy who lives on this row of houses here on Willow Bend. So in February of 2024, these houses were built and were lived in. The rest of them, this was all still construction. Like some of these, I think, were built by February, but these were being lived in. These were probably towards the end of being, almost ready. But these, and it was one of the guys along on this row who said during the canvass, so this is the morning of the February 26th, during the canvass, said that he recognises this kid. He's seen him before in the neighbourhood, but not recently. So Sebastian had been wandering over here. Presumably the cops had a picture of Sebastian and they were showing, like, neighbours, like, have you seen this teenager? And he said, yeah, I recognise that kid. However, I haven't seen him recently. So he's wandering over here whilst this was construction. And he's not seen him recently because these houses were no longer construction. So what Sebastian will have done, will have moved up here because he liked playing on the construction site. So it makes absolute sense that once these houses are finished, this man on this row here ain't going to see him anymore because Sebastian is now moved up here. So that's two people on the same morning said that they'd seen Sebastian in their neighbourhood. One time, very concerning, that Sebastian was hiding under a car. I mean, somebody could have got in the car, driven off and run him over. Very dangerous behaviour. What on earth was he doing, hiding under someone's car? But they never got to the bottom of it because the man never went back. Like, probably went storming over, like you do. You're storming over, like, I'm going to sort this teenager out. Like, what on earth is he playing at? Give him a piece of his mind. But then he's gone home, calmed down, and never bothered going back to tell Katie of it. And if only, because maybe Katie would then be aware that Sebastian was sneaking out. Maybe she'd have put a camera up, near the front door, so that at least she would have been aware of when he went out. But they didn't know. They didn't know because no one had ever told them. So yes, he had been doing it. And if he'd been doing it in the day when Katie was at work, I bet you any money he was also doing it at night, because he was not a big sleeper. Like, he was wandering about at night, getting snacks and stuff. So I bet you any money the reason why he was getting up and getting snacks was because he was going out taking his snacks with him. I bet you, because I used to do the same. Honestly.
We can zero in on one of the parents or something. That's the narrative you see on a lot of social media. That's fine. Just bring the evidence. Trust me, if they had anything, they would bring it, arrest them, and get them before Ray Whitley tomorrow. You think they're playing around on this? They don't have any evidence. So that's why I say it's not criminal now. Could it become criminal? Absolutely. Let's see, what else do we have? Any questions? Why? No, let's see. A lot of people say law enforcement did a bad job from the beginning, but no one's explaining to me how they did a bad job. They responded. They were out with drones. They circled the area. They immediately started interviewing the parents. What did they, I mean, all these people saying this. Were you out there?
That's one very viable theory, Miss Wells. He got run over by a car he was hiding under, or hiding near construction vehicles, and something terrible happened to him. I think if he was hiding under a car and someone ran over him, then I think they would have called that in. I think somebody would have called that in, because it's, you know, they're completely blameless. They're not going to expect, when they set off, they're not going to expect somebody hiding under their car. So they'd have called that in. But certainly something terrible happening to him on the construction site, absolutely. That is very possible. And that's why it's a terrible, terrible oversight that they didn't close that construction site down, even if it was just for a few hours. You know, but we may never know what evidence was missed, or even if Sebastian was missed. He liked hiding. We know he liked hiding.
Do you know how these things go? I mean, I've followed the search for Summer Wells. I flew out there with the helicopter. I've seen that. I remember the massive search for Joe Clyde Daniels, which, by the way, I don't think was perfect at the beginning. Same thing with the search for Holly Bobo. Those had some problems early on. This one didn't. This one, to me, was almost textbook in the way they handled it. Were mistakes probably made along the way? Maybe some. But in my experience, I just named several of them, this investigation was handled properly. So I just want someone to explain it. There we go. I mean, let's see. People don't vanish. I agree. People want to know if the sheriff's department is doing drive-bys to protect the community.
Do I remember what night divers found in the retention pond? It was an item of clothing, which wasn't Sebastian's. Maybe there wasn't. It was clothing. I think maybe 2 items. The video will still be up on his channel, so you could, like, he showed the items. A ball cap, thank you. Yeah, there was a cap, and like some, I don't know, like I don't know whether it was a t-shirt or something. Do you see my Cadaverian comment? Trace amounts in aquifer. There was trace amounts in aquifer where? No, I didn't see comment, Mike. Sorry. If I'm like not looking at the chat, then I'm only kind of, you know, glancing at the chat when I stop like this. Yeah, there was a hat. There was something else as well, I'm sure. But they weren't Sebastian's. Probably stuff that the construction guys had left, I would imagine.
I don't know. A lot of people are saying, you're saying that Chris Proudfoot or Katie Proudfoot is not a suspect, the mother. Get out of here, Nick. Look, you know, did they look at them as a possibility? I told you, everyone close to him has been vetted, and they've talked to him. They've interviewed him a number of times. They've interviewed them together, apart, to look for contradictions. They've checked any alibis, anything else. Yeah, heck yeah. Right off the bat, the most obvious persons responsible for someone disappearing usually are those closest to them. I can tell you right now, if my wife, who's downstairs on the couch watching TV with the dogs, disappears tonight while I'm up here talking to you, and I have nothing to do with it, when law enforcement shows up tomorrow, I am suspect number 1. until they look into it and realize, oh, well, Nick is on Facebook Live all night, so he couldn't have done it. I'm just saying, yeah, of course they were initially, but have they done all this vetting with the parents a year later? Still nothing. Hey, maybe they committed the perfect crime, but without evidence, you cannot say they had anything to do with it. And they've cooperated. They haven't lawyered up, you know? I mean, so yeah, go ahead and make your assumptions. That's just fine, you know, but there's no evidence. I'm trying to think what else. Just trying to answer this for you. They aren't looking hard enough. I mean, I'd love it if they could be out there every day looking, you know? Someone was asking me earlier today if they used luminol inside the house, which I believe they did. They searched the house all in and out. Luminol, again, is that chemical that under a dark light, when you put it out there, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but it detects the presence of, say, a blood splatter, or if something violent happened in that home, say if he was attacked inside the home or something like that. Excuse me, my understanding is they did go through and search the house thoroughly using things like that and didn't find any evidence of that.
They did. They absolutely did. Several times. And every time that they brought a different team in, they had cadaver dogs around the house, Katie and Chris let them in because they had nothing to hide. They didn't have to get any search warrants. They gave their phones over voluntarily. Katie took a polygraph. Look, if they committed the perfect crime, then I don't know, but so few crimes are, you know, of this magnitude are perfect by people who are not, you know, well versed in criminality. They didn't use luminol, unfortunately. Yeah, but they didn't need to. Like, what they do is they use UV lights. So they have these little handheld UV lights. You see, if you watch the body cam in the Chris Watts case, you've got the officer who's talking to Chris. Can't remember his name now. Good God, I can't remember his name. But those first responding officers who are walking around the house, they have these little handheld UV lights, and they just shine them like he was doing it like up the stairs. And these UV lights will pick up like any, you know, spots or things like that that have been cleaned up that are not like registered with the human eye. And then if they get anything suspicious using, you know, these UV lights, if there's some strange staining or it smells like bleach and things like that, and they get suspicious, then they bring in the luminol. So there've been no evidence of recent, you know, a cleanup operation, nothing out of place, no strange stain, nothing. So, you know, they do it in stages. Like if they find suspicious things, then they bring in the full-on forensics team. They don't bring on the full-on forensics team, you know, completely lock a place down if there's absolutely no evidence that a crime has taken place. Think premeditated and planned for a little while. No. Wait, what? No. Like, listen, you go and commit the perfect crime. Go away, tell us how you did it and how you got away with it. No. How did they get him out of that neighborhood? Come on now.
Let's see. He is covering for Craddock and the mess up. He's best friends with the DA.
Oh, God. They're accusing Nick of covering up for Craddock. Oh. Oh, give it a rest. Go home. You're drunk. Dear God.
There you go. Thank you, Sharon. I know you're tight with exactly who my friends are. Whatever. Okay, let's see what else. Saying, I have a gut feeling. Nick, you're lying.
Oh, Nick is still lying now. Oh, all the green team are in there. They watch a lot of Dexter.
I told you, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. Has my story changed? Are you saying at some point that I had said it was a criminal?
Nick, they're trolling you. Just move on. Just ignore them. Block them. Nick, please.
Investigation. It's entirely possible at some point early on because of the Amber Alert. They said they're treating it like a criminal.
It was Tony Mathis calling him a liar. No way. Was it really? I don't know whether you're joking or not, Sam, but I could absolutely believe you. I could absolutely believe you. Because I didn't watch this live. This happened overnight my time. Doesn't luminol hit on random cleaners like detergent? Luminol detects blood. However, it will light up to certain other chemicals as well. Tony was definitely in that chat, pissed to sell. Yeah, I bet he was. Oh, I can just imagine. I can imagine what they're doing now. They'll be calling in News Channel 5, calling in that their reporter is saying ridiculous things online. Dear God. Mathis. Tony Mathis creeps me the F out. He really does. He's such a slime ball. Sue me, Tony.
Investigation, but they never found any evidence. But if that's the case, they backtracked it, whatever, in recent months, as far as I can remember now. And what I talked with them this week.
They're doing that already, really? Oh, I haven't looked, and I won't look. I don't watch them. I've got some of them blocked. Probably not all of them, but I just don't watch them.
Again, they told me this is an investigation, not a criminal investigation. Now, maybe that'll change. And again, it doesn't matter. If you want to call it criminal, that's fine. Whatever the I'm just glad they're investigating, okay? Good point. Sebastian now would be 16. He's 5'5", 120 pounds. He's got brown eyes. He's obviously Caucasian. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see what else.
Nick B said he was answering questions, so people who were asking questions doesn't seem ridiculous to me. It is ridiculous when they keep asking the same thing and then they're saying to him, but you said it was a criminal investigation, and he just keeps going back to it. So obviously they're continuing to type these similar kind of things in the chat, even though he's made his position abundantly clear several times now.
Plus, we got a lot of people are upset because, the law enforcement doesn't, provide updates on a regular basis and all this. And they could, but they've seen what's happened with everything on social media and how it's gotten out of control. But they're kind of like, look, the moment there's something more for us to share, we will. But in general, I asked them, I'd like to hear from them more often. But it's like, we'll come and go public when we have something to tell you. That's all. Let's see. Some people upset with the rude comments. Again, it's okay. If you have rude comments, I get frustrated too. We're all connection again. There we go. So I understand that. So I don't blame people for being frustrated. Let's sit down here, see if we have a better signal. Yeah, LA law enforcement's doing their job, but they're not going to tell you it's criminal. Perhaps. If they have a suspect in mind, they don't have evidence yet, and I'm sure there's things they're not telling us, then understandably, they're probably not going to come clean on that because they're working that case and they don't want that person to be on alert. So is that possible? Yeah, I don't know. I guarantee you there's things that I don't know that they're not telling me. Let's see. Someone saying something for dispersing the light video. Now they own your butt, Nick. I have no idea what she's talking about. Did not do luminol on the house or the cars. So I don't know. Someone's saying they didn't do luminol on the house and the cars. I just know that they searched the house. They went into the home and they were checking for evidence that there was some act of violence in there. They didn't find any. Let's see, what else do we have? I wasn't in there when they were doing the search. I don't know if you were. Maybe the law enforcement said one way or the other, but they did search the home, and that typically would involve luminol. Yeah, thank you, Nick. Unfortunately, some people have their minds made up with no evidence. And again, I understand the frustration. So many people, it's just this kid. All right, so again, people asking me what forensics they did on the home, because maybe that is why there's no evidence. Did they miss something there? Was it cleaned up? Keep in mind, if there was something in there, if something happened, it could have been cleaned up before they got there. I don't know. I know they went in and searched the home. Where and how? I'm
sorry, cops are not stupid. If there's sign of a cleanup, they know. Think about the Letitia Stokes investigation. Like, if you watched Letitia Stokes' trial, they showed the body cam of the officers going in and just having a look around when Gannon was first reported missing. And then, during those, first couple of walkarounds, they noticed certain things. they noticed that there were signs of cleaning in like one room, like, you know, a strong smell of cleaning products in one room, but not in the other rooms. That is suspicious. What do they then do? They, you know, take a little bit of the flooring up and they see that there's stains on the floor. So then what do? They shut down the house to do a full forensic examination. And lo and behold, they find blood spatter on the floor that Letitia has tried to clean up and on the walls. Not all of that was visible to the naked eye. That's when they get the luminol out. That's when they do the full-on forensics. Because Letitia had tried to clean up all of the blood. And these cops aren't stupid. When they come, you know, to a report of a missing child, and they take a walk around the house and they say, oh, well, he might be hiding, just let's have a look. What they're really looking for are signs of a cleanup. And it's a dead giveaway when the signs of a cleanup in one room, when there's, you know, the other house, you know, the other rooms in the house are, you know, not. They're not stupid. They're not stupid. Like Chris Watts had taken the bedclothes off. And because he was caught on the hop, because Shanann's friend called the cops in, Chris was caught on the hop. So the bedclothes that he'd taken off the bed where he murdered Shanann were like bunched in a corner of the room. Now, if Chris had, you know, had that time, he would have cleaned, you know, taken those bedclothes away, put new clothes on the bed, and they would have been none the wiser. But as it was, they caught him on the hop. But Chris caved. Chris caved. They made huge mistakes in the first 2 days of that investigation. And if Chris had not caved, they'd have struggled. They'd have struggled to put a case together against him. However, you know, these police interrogators, they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. So when they're questioning parents of missing kids or, you know, missing family members, they're looking for signs of lying. They're looking for the little tells. They're not stupid. They're not stupid. People who are saying these comments, they're the stupid ones.
How they did luminol, I don't know. But they would have checked to look for evidence of blood splatter or like, was there some act of violence here that maybe led to him disappearing? And apparently they haven't found anything along those lines. See, a lot of people, you know, point to the mother because she was the last one with him. I understand. I mean, but, you know, no evidence. I mean, you think this is a mother that's lost her child, and to be accusing her with no evidence, it's heartbreaking.
It's evil.
I don't know, this is Carter dude
It's
maybe called it a criminal investigation. Whatever.
That's what it is.
Like I said, I'm not going to argue that anymore. If you want to believe it's criminal, that's fine. I hope it becomes that and they can make an arrest. That would be great. I just don't believe that's the case right now. Good change if some evidence suddenly surfaces. Is someone saying this child has a medical condition that needs medicine? You wouldn't go for a year without medicine and treatment. I don't know exactly what medicines he was on, but yeah, if that's true, that's a concern. Let's see. I'm trying to think what else we have here. Yeah, again, someone reminding, call-in tips, 1-800-TBI-FINE. One sad thing about this is that
absence of blood doesn't not mean absence of crime. No one's saying otherwise. No one's saying otherwise. There was no blood when Chris Watts murdered Shanann Watts. It doesn't mean to say that they didn't suspect that there'd been nefarious activity. They're not stupid.
Is that they say that the number of tips have really slowed to a trickle of late, and that's unfortunate. Nick looks worried. Don't mess with a bunch of mama bears, Nick. Hey, if you're a mama bear and you care about this kid, then we're on the same page, you know. And
Don't mess with the mama bear. The only mama bears there are in Sebastian's life, right, is Katie. And all these mama bears who were in the chat championing Sebastian, none of them knew him. None of them know Sebastian. The people that did know Sebastian the best are the ones that these people are, you know, they've made their lives a living hell. And that's disgusting. Absolutely freaking disgusting.
Believe what you believe. I'm not worried because I agree with you. It breaks my heart. Let's see. Did the Ellie tell you they confirmed the identity of the shadow figure? Is this in that most recent video that they debunked from last week that a couple other media? All they told me about it was that there was no evidentiary value on it. So I take that to mean that, you know, even if there was something that they thought was important to it, they weren't able to make out who that figure was. So they just said there was nothing to it and that they had that within the first 72 hours after he disappeared. That's all they told me when I asked them about it. Why does everyone want him to be deceased? He could have just left. I mean, well, yeah, we don't know if Sebastian's dead or alive right now. I don't know anyone that wants him to be dead. I mean, it's possible, certainly, that he's alive. At least we have to hope that. But if he's not, at the very least, he needs to be found so he can have a proper burial and his parents can, you know, deal with that, the closure. Sorry about the buffering. Everyone wants Eric Craddock to speak. They'd be picketing the office. What do you want him to tell you? He's not going to tell you anything different than what I just.
They're not going to picket the office. Oh, come on now. Seriously. That's just insane. That's not going to make him speak. That's going to make him less likely to speak.
You know, I mean, that's what he's going to tell you. I want him busy working the case, not having press conferences every day.
I would like them to have a press conference to just clear up some of these things. Answer, come and do a press conference. It's the year mark. It's a perfect time to do a press conference and answer some questions. Obviously, there's things that they can't answer. You know, they can't talk about the theories. They can't talk if there are active leads that they're still following. They can't talk about those, but they can explain things like, well, all right, if you're saying that, hold on a minute, where is it? I'm taking it off now, but the nighttime, if you're saying that this is of no evidentiary value, they haven't said that, but the nighttime one with the strange figure, let me put it back on. This one. Hold on. No, wrong one. If they're saying that this one has no evidentiary value, then at least come and tell us that you know who it is. You have to say who it is, just that, yes, you're aware of this person out in the neighborhood at 12:17. You have spoken to that person and that you're confident that they are not involved in the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. So that then says it's not Sebastian. They know who it is. We don't need to worry about it. They know where they went and why they were there, and it's nothing to worry about. That's fine by me. But I absolutely cannot have this. Oh, well, it's not relevant. And then they can't say why it's not relevant. They did that with the flashlights video. That, oh, it's got no evidentiary value, but we're not going to tell you what it is or why. That just creates more ridiculousness. Just be a little bit more forthcoming, and at least then, yes, there are going to be lots of people who don't believe it, that they're just going to believe what they believe regardless of what anybody says. But there will be people who will take that on board, like me. I'll take that on board and I'll move on. But until so, I find it extremely suspicious that this is the exact location, the same camera, the exact location that this dog this dog follows exactly the path that that person was at. This person's walking along here, like right along here, and this dog comes along, picks up a track just a bit up here. Hold on, let me get it going. So the dog picks up a track. Here he comes. Here he comes. At a trot. Starting to really pull now. This person breaks into a trot. Exactly the same path that this person was at. Exactly the same place that this person was at 8 hours previous. Like, this is the same path. This is the same path 8 hours previous. So I'd like an explanation of that. I really would.
Yeah, and again, someone saying, do you have a theory? I mean, I don't. I mean, I have several theories that have gone through my mind. I want to be impartial. All I've said today is that I believe that there's a real possibility that this wasn't Sebastian disappearing just on his own. Now, who or how and why this was involved? Did he leave willingly? Was he abducted? I don't know. Because I'm of the belief with a lot of other people that you just don't vanish without a complete trace at any moment. I'm of the belief that perhaps somehow, not long after he left that...
Yes. Just because humans can't detect those traces doesn't mean to say dogs can't detect those traces. We've seen two dogs on active tracks. One of them, that Bloodhound, is scent specific. That dog is tracking Sebastian. There's your trace. Where he went after that, though, who knows?
He ended up in a car driven away, or the dogs would have picked up his scent somewhere else walking. If he was just out there walking around the neighborhood, they would have picked it up. So that's kind of what I think. Nick, you said it was criminal. Again,
But they did pick it up. They did pick it up.
Not going to deal with that anymore. If at some point I said I was criminal, then it was something early on that may have been said that and connected.
Said no dog's track. Well, look at. Do you want to see the tracks? Do you want to see it again? Do you want to see it again? What's this called? If it's not a track. All right. So this is the zoomed in version. All right. So let's watch this dog come along. He's right there. He's sniffing. Right. Watch him. He takes off at a trot. All right. And then if we take this one and you see him coming along here, he takes off at a trot. He's got his nose down. This is scent specific, tracking Sebastian's scent. That, my friends, is a dog on an active track. Yeah, the dog lied. The dog lied. The dog knew he was being filmed. He knew. He lied. The dog lied. This dog here, this very dog, this very Bloodhound here, he lied. Okay, all right. Okay.
With the Amber Alert, or they thought it might become criminal. Okay. All I know is it's changed. If that's the case, everyone I talked to this week said it is not criminal at this point. It is an investigation. That doesn't mean they're not looking for evidence of crime. They're looking for it. They just haven't found it. Okay, let's see. Yeah, a lot of people say, I don't know, do I have no clue, or are they saying it to someone else? Because it wouldn't be the first time I have no clue. I think the LA will probably send out, I think the TBI and law enforcement will probably send out some kind of statement, maybe have a newser this Wednesday. That would be my guess. I don't know that. I'm just guessing they might. And that'd be great, because that would satisfy some of you that just want to hear from them. It is an Amber Alert. You're correct.
Yeah, Katie and Chris paid him with treats. Paid him to lie. Said, if you lie, we'll tell you where the cameras are. If you pretend you're tracking, when you pass these cameras, we'll give you a big bag of sausages. Yeah, that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, let's see. An Amber Alert doesn't necessarily mean, just remember, an Amber Alert, if you look at the definition of it, it means abduction can be part of it, but it also means it's the belief that a child is in imminent danger of injury or
the reason why they changed it to an Amber Alert is because the weather. Ken Widener said it was the press conference on the 27th of February. So Sebastian had been missing for like one full day, and then they were getting towards the end of the search that day, and they knew that the weather was going to turn cold. It was going to start raining, and the weather dropped into the 30s. It had been in the 50s at night, and it was now going to drop into the 30s at night. And they were concerned that Sebastian being out there, he was going to die of hypothermia. So the danger against Sebastian when they issued the Amber Alert wasn't that they feared he'd been abducted, which obviously was possible, but it was actually the weather that put him into imminent danger of serious injury or death. Ken Widener said it.
Yeah, something along those lines. And I'd say most of the time Amber Alerts do, but they don't always. There's no evidence that he did not walk out of the house. Okay. I don't know. Everyone's, you can tell the people that are mad, get out of here. You're a liar.
For God's sake. I can't imagine what his chat was like. Facebook doesn't do chat replays, does it? Or that's a take a glance. Not that I really want to know.
Let's see. I would love the evidence. Look, everyone that wants to be criminal, I would love it. I want that to be the case. I mean, I want evidence to share.
Why does everybody want it to be a criminal investigation? Why? I want it to be a runaway scenario where Sebastian has just walked off and he's living somewhere. He's living his life somewhere. That's what I want. That's what I hope. Not that it was a crime and that someone murdered him. I don't want that. Can we not just all hope that he just walked off and he's fine somewhere, somehow? It's unlikely, but we can hope, can't we?
The detective said it's a criminal case for some post last night. So I'm not saying anyone's lying. You know, maybe someone said it, okay? But all I know is the people who are at the
Nick needs to learn to ignore trolls. Nick needs moderators who just block these people.
Very top say it's an investigation. They haven't ruled out the possibility of a criminal act. But until they have some...
Is Seth still collecting donations to live on it? I don't know. I don't know. I don't look into things like that. I don't care.
Evidence to indicate it's a criminal act, they're just going to call it an investigation. But that's all. You know. Let's see. Has any of the parents been cleared? As far as I know, and this was an interview I did with the sheriff early on, but I think it applies today. He says no one has been cleared per se. I know early on some of the family members say, oh, we've all been cleared. He just says, look, there's no evidence that any of them did anything wrong, but we're not saying anyone's cleared yet. There could be evidence that surfaces that points to someone, and we're not going to clear them until we know for sure, you know, what's out there. So I don't believe anyone has been cleared, but that doesn't mean that they're suspects. It just means, no, we're not going to say, oh, beyond a shadow of a doubt, this person's innocent. They're just going to say, look, there's no evidence that they did anything wrong, but we're not going to clear them. That's kind of what they're saying.
Yeah, hope he's living with a girlfriend and they're madly in love. Yeah. Yeah.
So frustrating that kids disappear. I agree. Let's see. Again, on the luminol thing, I will double check that for you. I will double check that. What do I mean? What's the big deal if it is investigated criminally? No, I mean, right now it's an investigation. It's a big deal. If it becomes criminal, it's a big deal. That means they've decided someone committed a criminal act towards Sebastian. So I'm not saying that's not a big deal. I'm saying right now, whether it's called criminal or not, if those of you who just want to call it a criminal investigation now without any evidence, that's fine. It's an investigation. All I care is that they're investigating. That's what it is. Let's see. So what is the correct last seen date? And that has changed a few times. They say 25th or 26th. I think the date may have changed on the FBI report. I'll have to double check that. I don't know.
Okay, so on the Amber Alert, it says he was last seen. Actually, the Amber Alert says missing since. So missing since February 26th. That's when he was reported missing. The 911 call came in at 6:33 a.m. on the 26th. But he was last seen, like anybody having eyes on him, was the night of the 25th. So he went to bed about 9-ish, and then Katie heard him in his room and spoke to him around 10-ish. And then when she went to bed at midnight, she believes he was still in his room. So he would have disappeared between midnight and 6 a.m. So had he just waited for her to go to bed and then snuck out? Or did he go to bed, go to sleep? The person out there, like this person out here, isn't Sebastian. It's just someone else just walking along. There they are. There they are, just walking along. So just walking along. Is that Sebastian, or is that just someone else minding their own business? We don't know. We don't know the answer to that. It could well be that this person has got absolutely nothing to do with Sebastian's case, and the cops are right and they know who it is. And Sebastian actually went to sleep and then woke up in the night and went out then. I think, personally, he waited for his mother to go to bed and then he went out. But I don't know. Where is he? I think he's close. I think if he's not in that area, either at the construction site or close to the construction site, I still think he's in a northerly direction. I think he went north. If he made it past the construction site. But where he is, I have no idea. I wish I knew. But I don't think he's that far away from the house. Possible that he even walked past the search area, that he walked past the search perimeter. It's very possible. He could, because he had the time to walk past the search perimeter. But my hunch is that something unfortunate befell him within a mile of his home. That's just my gut. If he made it past that construction site, I think the cave systems out there are pretty dangerous. That's my working theory at the moment.
People look to you and you're sharing incorrect information, says Jill. I'm going to catch some rest. You're going to catch from this because it's blowing up. Well, what's blowing up? All I'm saying is that I've been told this weekend from the DA and the sheriff that this is an investigation, not a criminal investigation at this point. But they're not ruling it out. There's just no evidence right now of who committed a crime or that Sebastian was victim of a crime, though I think a lot of people believe it could have been. Let's see.
Maybe as Nick's not been live on this case for quite a while, maybe he didn't realise that just how bad social media's got for trolls. Maybe just didn't realise that the Green team is just going to inundate his chat, and they've basically just derailed him. Like anybody asking like genuine questions, he's just saying the same thing over and over and over.
Let's see. I think Dog the Bounty Hunter, someone says, I wasn't putting it down. If he has a bounty, I just don't know how much it is. I think Dog the Bounty Hunter is legit. And if he puts a reward out there, I think it'll be paid. I've just covered other cases in the past where rewards, a lot of people.
Sorry, I don't believe it. I don't believe it will be paid. If someone found Sebastian, I don't think Dog the Bounty Hunter would pay up. Oh, that's just my opinion. I don't think they'd pay up. I don't think Dog the Bounty Hunter is going to give away a penny. Just saying.
Will offer rewards from different places, and when it's finally solved, sometimes it's hard to track down who or where was offering it. But I think the FBI, I think Dog, if this is found, I think the money will come from them. I think they're legit. So I think if Dog is offering, I think that's then pushing it beyond what the FBI is. We know the FBI is offering $50,000, which is a lot of money. This reward's been out there for a long time, $50,000 or more. And you would think if someone had some information that they would come forward for that that money. And I mean, that's not a little reward. That's a big chunk of money. That's usually enough to get tips if there are some out there. That's why I'm wondering, no one's come forward. Maybe no one knows anything, because I mean, a lot of people turn in their own mother for that kind of money. What are we seeing here? I don't. Yeah, I'm with Amanda. You know, criminal investigation, just investigate wherever it leads. I mean, if you get evidence that proves this investigation criminal, go for it. Call it that. I just want to know that there's evidence of that. And I've been told there's no evidence a crime was committed. Does that mean that one wasn't committed? No, they just haven't found it. Someone could have committed the perfect crime here, or they just haven't found it yet. And I'm in agreement with a lot of people that, you know, it's more than likely maybe something did happen, but you have to have some evidence of that. That's all I'm saying. So anyway, seeing a lot of these. What else? A lot of people not liking some of this info. And, you know, if you don't buy what I'm saying, that's okay. You can get it someplace else. I'm just here to do my best to give you my point of view and what I've been told. Yeah, Cindy is saying, you lying person. You said that it was a criminal investigation.
Oh, for God's sake. For God's sake.
Even 6 months ago. If that's the case, if it was in a context, depending on who told us, then it's changed. Maybe there was evidence at that point that did not pan out, and it is now something where it's just called an investigation. So
no, no, it's never been a criminal investigation. Never. It's never been called a criminal investigation. If Nick misspoke 6 months ago, that's on Nick. But it's never been a criminal investigation. His chat has been completely derailed by these buffoons.
Again, you know, don't get mad at me. I mean, I never said that there was a suspect or someone like this that they had in mind. If they're calling it criminal, that would have meant that they found something that indicated evidence, something physical, some blood, an eyewitness, something on a video somewhere that told them, yes, look, there's someone dragging him into a car. We don't know who it is, but that's evidence that he was taken away. That's a crime. He was kidnapped. I don't know of anything like that. So perhaps at one point they thought it was, and they've changed it. So
who is this guy? This is Nick Baris. He is a reporter for News Channel 5 Nashville. He's been following Sebastian's case since the very beginning.
You know, I'm sorry. So many people are dead set that this is criminal.
And he speaks to Eric Craddock, the sheriff from Sumner County. He speaks to the DA, Ray Whitley. He's also got sources in TBI.
You just have to have evidence of it. And I've been told this weekend. So if
and Ken Widener as well from Sumner County EMA.
The story's changed. I've been told this weekend that from both the DA and the sheriff and other sources that it is simply an investigation and they're ruling nothing out. That's all I can tell you as we sit here right now. That's all. And that's about it. I'm sorry it's freezing. A lot of people saying the same things. You know, yeah, I'm just looking through here the rest of this. I'm sure, you know, we'll be hearing more in the next week. I think we'll have more that comes down from the sheriff and from investigators. I think maybe they'll issue some kind of statement.
Is he credible? Yeah, he's credible. He has a lot of contacts. He's bound by his professional ethics of his profession.
On tomorrow or Wednesday. And we'll follow up on that. I promise I'll follow up on it. I'll double check in again on a regular basis. Say, look, there was a time that you guys indicated this might be criminal, or someone was saying it is, and now you're saying it's not. What's changed? But you know, the sheriff and the DA have indicated it is an investigation where we've ruled nothing out, but we're not going to, at least at this time now, call it criminal. That's what I was told yesterday. Okay, so if it was reported differently back several weeks or whatever, the story has changed. Perhaps things change as they go into it. That's all I'm saying. And like I said, people get upset about this, and I'm sorry if you don't like everything I'm telling you. And hey, I could be wrong on some of this. I'm just being told and trying to share this information and keep the story out there. Whether we agree or disagree on some of this, hopefully we can all agree on one thing. As I said, the only thing that matters to me is finding Sebastian, what happened to him, hopefully finding him alive and safe, but one way or the other getting an answer to this mystery. So it's a year later. And I hope something breaks on this case in the not too distant future. So that's where we have it, guys. Appreciate you joining us again.
All right. So completely derailed chat. Thanks, Nick Baris, for trying. That's all we can do. That's all any of us can do is try. That's all any of us can do. Can someone with dogs answer? Don't you let your dogs out to go to the toilet before you put them in for the night? I don't understand. Or did they have a litter tray like cats? That's strange to me. Well, I certainly let my dogs out. My dogs ask to go out. Usually right in the middle of the night. And Cassie has to go out in the middle of the night. Not because she needs a wee, but because, oh, there's things, critters and stuff. But yeah, my dogs go out. Can you imagine the size of Tilly having a litter tray? Can you imagine? Can you imagine Tilly with a litter tray? But if you have those little tiny dogs, like they've got Morkies, which are Yorkshire Terriers crossed by Maltese, and they're tiny. Now, some people who have those tiny dogs have a tray or puppy pads or something for them. I used to have a couple of Yorkies and they went out. I treated those Yorkies like they were big dogs. But yeah, I assume that they go out. My email is, I don't normally put my email in the chat because I get nonsense people, but I will. Hold on a minute. If I don't answer like quickly, it's because I'm not very good at answering emails. I do sometimes, usually get round to it. Edamorky, they has to go out. Yeah, I mean, look, some people, you know, I know someone who's got a miniature dachshund and she doesn't go out. Like, she lives in an upstairs apartment and she has like a litter tray and she puts puppy pads in it. I just couldn't. I'm like, no, you're a dog, go outside. I mean, look, they may let them out in the day and then have puppy pads at night. I don't know how old they were. They may have been like young dogs who were still having accidents in the night and they may have puppy pads down. I know Katie said that they have a pen that they go in at night. I've no idea. I've no idea. I don't know why the question has come up about dogs going to the toilet, but I'm just answering as someone who has dogs. I've had all sizes of dogs over the years, and every single one of them has been taught to go outside. And they ask to outside when they need a wee. Is email the best place to reach you besides your live chat? My Facebook group is actually the best place to reach me because I check that group like more than once a day. Emails, like if I remember, I check them, but I have no special reason to go in. My emails, it's only if somebody prompts me to go in that I go in. What's my FB group? It's the link to my Facebook group is in the description box of every single video that I do, including this one. But I'll get you the link. Just a second. You have to answer, it's a private group, so you have to answer some questions before you can get in. But as long as you answer the questions, you should be able to get in. Here it comes. If you want to grab that link, that's my Facebook group. But yeah, so description box of any video, and then also the about section has got the, I think that's got Facebook group in as well. When my daughter's dogs stay overnight, he goes out at 9 and then he's fine until 6. Oh God. Noodle's fine. Noodle can wait all day, but Cassie, she has to go out like every 2 or 3 hours. And I genuinely think it's not because she needs a wee every 2 to 3 hours. I think it's because she likes to go and assess what's going on in the outside world, and she has to keep a check of all the local cats. And then Tilly's somewhere in between. She can hold a wee all day, but she like poos like 4 times a day. She always has done. So anyhow, dogs' toilet habits. I think this is a nice way to end. I think at this point, most people have left who don't want to hear about dogs' toileting habits. Okay, guys. So thank you all for joining me. And let's wait to see what comes up. Oh, God, I've been on nearly 3 hours. I didn't intend this to be a long one. I know that there's a lot of people who watch my channel who really can't do long lives. They really don't get on with long lives at all. I do try to keep them shorter, but I've done 3-hour lives for the Brian Koberger stuff. And anyhow, I'm going to go. So thank you, as always, to those that donated earlier on. So we got Melissa, who was a new member. We got One Eye Flo and Susan, who contributed. There was also Susan, another Susan, and Orange Butterfly. Thank you so much. You've just come in. Thank you for the $2.99. Thank you so much. And we've got LJ for the $1.99. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I think that's it. And Sasha, who has, I think, had to leave, but who donated via PayPal. So always appreciated. Thanks as always to the mods. You do sterling stuff. Although we are good. We are good here. Go and check out the video that I did earlier on today for Delphi. If you're also following that case, it's only a short video. It's only about like 8 minutes. So go and check that out, 8 or 9 minutes. Thank you, Shaggy, for the $2. That's very kind of you. And the Karen Reid hearing is about to start in about 45 minutes. So I've just got enough time to go and finish what I was going to start before I went live, before the Karen Reid hearing. Thank you, Sam. You are so kind for the $9.99. That's very kind of you. All right. I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Off to see what wildness the Karen Reid hearing brings. All right. I'm out. Bye, guys.